As we head into our 27th season, no doubt motoring TV has evolved, hopefully for the better. The cars sure have. And as for us, well, we're just getting older. But as I always say, the good thing about getting older is you live longer. I just hope that comes as good news to you, our viewers. Well, it's that time of the year as we find ourselves at Pie in the Sky Studios in Toronto for our annual 1-hour Car of the Year special. Under that cover, Motoring's pick as the best overall vehicle for the year 2014. And standing by are two Megans, and they'll have the honor of pulling the wraps off our winner later on. He used to like riding horses until he discovered a horsepower he enjoyed a lot more. And of course, that's our Graham Fletcher. Now, what you might not know about this guy, he didn't cut his teeth in television. Oh, that might be quite obvious. He cut his teeth as a young mechanic.
I sure did. Started my apprenticeship back in the early 70s and then operated as chassis dynamometer when I first came to Canada. The combination of those experiences, if you know how the car works, you get a much better sense for what's right and what's wrong.
Well, you know, we're here to pick the best in class for 2014. And Graham, around the globe, production sales, it's been a banner year.
It sure has. We'll end up 1.8 million cars in Canada. Now that is a banner year by any standard. And the good news, it looks like it's going to transfer into 2014. Now that's fantastic news for the industry, but it's even better news for Canada.
You know, there's over 50 brand new cars this year. Don't touch that dial. We're not going to see them all on this program.
No, we're not. We look at very specific categories of the new cars that have been launched. We pigeonhole them. We then pick the best three and ultimately pick the best one. Now, a lot of people say, well, what happened to the XYZ? If it didn't make the top three, it's not as good as them. It's quite simple.
Now, we've also asked you, our viewers, to take part. So we've had a poll, and we'll be comparing your results with our results throughout the program. But let's get things started with the bang. And this segment, I would think, has the most talked about vehicles of the year.
Oh, it sure does. This is the sports car segment. Now, this year was an absolute banner year. Some of the best sports cars I've driven in a very, very long time. So let's start with the sports car category. Lift the SLS's long hood and there sits the reason for the GT's missile-like response to throttle input. A 6.2-litre V8 that pushes 583 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. Mash the gas pedal and the SLS takes off like a veritable road rocket. It runs to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.7 seconds and turns the 80 to 120 trick in a scintillating 3 seconds flat. Now that is what you call seriously fast. Oh, and I nearly forgot. The SLS has got a top speed of 320 kilometers an hour. The 7th generation Corvette represents a radical change from the outgoing car. To begin with, the chassis is now constructed of aluminum, which cuts precious kilograms without sacrificing the integrity of the drive. It also uses the latest small block V8. Yes, it still employs Chevrolet's time-honored push rods, but that matters not. The 6.2-litre V8 pushes 460 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. Set the steering, suspension and throttle in track mode and the Vette is a beauty. It runs to 100k in 3.8 seconds and does the 80 to 120 passing move in 3 seconds. Take a stunning car and stuff a plentiful engine under the hood and you have the Jaguar F-Type. While the base car is a tad mundane, the S features a 3-litre supercharged V6 that puts forth 380 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque.
Well, there was no doubt who our viewers thought was the hands-down winner in the sports car category. Graham, over to you.
Well, you know what I found very interesting? The three cars have one objective, and that's scintillating performance, but they come at it from such different areas of engineering. It really was a very tough choice. In the end, it boiled down to a race between the Jaguar F-Type and the Corvette. I ended up picking the Corvette for one very simple reason. There is not a better car for the dollar on the market today. You can add $20,000 in options to it and it's still $20,000 less than a Porsche 911. Things just don't get much better.
And you can imagine how much pressure was on General Motors to get this Corvette right. Job well done. We'll be back as we continue to march towards our overall Car of the Year on TSN. Joining me for this special edition of Motoring 91, a couple of our regulars. Graham Fletcher, of course, is behind the wheel each week on Test Drive, and Jim Kenzie has come out of Kenzie's Corner, and Jim, of course, never at a loss for words when it comes to commenting on the automobile industry. We just got started. Lots more to come as Motoring's 1 hour Car of the Year special continues. Welcome back to the set as we continue our 1 hour Car of the Year special. Here's Graham with our next category.
Our next category is affordable crossover, and by affordable I mean something that'll cost you less than 35 grand to park in your driveway. This year, 3 very strong contenders, 2 imports and a domestic. The Encore breaks new ground for Buick. It is part wagon and part crossover, which means it has a broader appeal than most traditional entrants. The stylish exterior treatment is supported by a richly appointed interior. The level of technology available is also above the expected norm. Then there's the 1.4-litre turbocharged engine. The 138 horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque give it some real-world response. It is also offered with all-wheel drive, which makes it more than a fair-weather friend. The original Kia Soul broke new ground as there was nothing quite like it when it hit the road. Yes, there were the overtly ugly box cars, but the Soul had flexibility without looking like something from a cartoon. The second generation Soul picks up on the basics and takes things to a higher place altogether. It is better looking, it has much better power and a more sophisticated ride. It does all of this while earning a healthy dose of refinement. The good news is it loses none of the things that made it an instant icon. The RAV4's look is now sharper with bulging fenders, and it has a style line or two. It also gets a 2.5-litre 4-cylinder engine that's mated to a slick 6-speed manumatic transmission. The 176 horsepower and 172 pound-feet of torque on tap deliver a sprightly feel and better than expected performance. The RAV4 also feels so much sharper. A big part of the reason is the 30mm reduction in the ride height. This brings a lower centre of gravity and far better road manners. The winner of the affordable crossover is the Kia Soul, and it was a pretty easy victory too. When the car was first launched, it came out of the gate very quickly and very rapidly became an icon. All they've done to it for the second generation, they've added a healthy dose of refinement. It really is a very nice package. Now, if you don't have the money for a big sports car, well, we've got the answer for you. It's called an affordable sports car. We've got 3 candidates that have what it takes. Now the nominees for affordable sports car. Take a regular compact hatchback and stuff a turbocharged engine under the hood and you have the recipe for success and a lot of fun. This defines the Ford Fiesta ST. Its 1.6-litre EcoBoost engine puts a rewarding 197 horsepower and 202 pound-feet of torque at the driver's disposal. Teamed with the manual transmission, the Fiesta really flies. It takes just 6.7 seconds to run from rest to 100k, which is a proud time by any standard. As with the Fiesta, Kia has taken a very competent car and jazzed it up by adding a turbocharger to the engine. In this case, the 1.6-litre 4 uses a twin-scroll turbo and an intercooler to produce 201 horsepower and, more importantly, 195 pound-feet of torque. The beauty of the design is that there is no turbo lag. The other reason for the alacrity is the fact the engine makes peak torque at 1750 RPM, which is just what's needed when launching off the line. The SX sprints to 100k in 6.2 seconds. While the Mazda 3 Sport is the lightest in terms of outright horsepower, it more than makes up for that in the manner in which it handles. The full suite of Skyactiv technology brings a lighter platform, sharper suspension and more power than the outgoing model. In the end, the Mazda 3 Sport runs from rest to 100k in 7 seconds, which is still pretty darn fast. all of this serves to whet one's appetite for the day the inevitable Mazda Speed 3 arrives.
Three great cars, but you know, the most fun I have had in any vehicle this year was the Ford Fiesta ST.
Absolutely, and that's why I picked it. It is a hoot to drive. It's got just the right amount of power, it handles very well, and you talk about nimble. I did consider the Forte because you get a Focus-sized car for a Fiesta-sized price, but overall, I preferred the Fiesta ST. It's a job well done by Ford.
We're getting very close to unveiling Motoring's Car of the Year for 2014, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Motoring 2014 is brought to you in part by Stark Auto Sales, a better way to buy a car.
Who will be Motoring's best overall vehicle for 2014? Well, the girls will soon be pulling the cover off. Now, our next segment is Family Car, and like families, you've got small and large families. This category is for small family car.
Yes, we have two family car categories primarily because, as Brad said, large families and small families. If you look at the US market, they're primarily buying the likes of Camry, Cord or Buick Regal. When you come to Canada, we prefer a smaller car, and therefore, here are the nominees for our small family car category. I never thought I would hear the sound of a diesel engine emanating from beneath the hood of a GM car ever again. In the late 70s and early 80s, Oldsmobile produced an oil burner that was such a disaster it tainted the entire breed. But the dulcet tones of the Cruise's new optional diesel engine promises to be music to all ears. This engine is not only peppy, it delivers simply outstanding fuel economy. Throw in a comfortable interior, decent handling, and the Chevy Cruze is a very strong contender. When the original Kia Rondo was introduced, it ushered in the minivan era. It had almost the same flexibility and cargo capacity as a minivan without being large and ponderous. The new model takes the lessons learned and applies a healthy dose of style. It now rides like a Forte wagon, which is a decidedly good thing for somebody with family commitments and the desire to drive something with a sporty character. Accounting for a third of all Mazda sales worldwide, the latest Mazda 3 is, to state the obvious, a very important car to the company. In redesigning the 3, Mazda had to be very careful. Keep the faithful in the fold while attracting a new buyer base. Well, the good news is Mazda has managed to do just that by blending a sharp look with a full suite of SkyActiv technologies. In simple terms, SkyActiv ensures that each technology works in harmony with the rest. This brings a lighter platform, better handling and improved power and efficiency. It adds up to a fun drive that the competitors, well, they simply cannot match.
And the winner is...
Motoring's best new small family car is the Mazda 3. When it was first introduced, it set a very high benchmark that the industry chased. This car is going to do exactly the same thing. It really does touch all the right bases.
It took the Japanese about 50 years to learn how to build good cars. It only took the Koreans about 25 years. I wonder how long it's going to take the Chinese. Now, that's the largest car market in the world. You may be surprised to learn that. But they sell cars by the billions over there. The interesting thing is, what brands do the Chinese like to buy? Now, to sell cars in China, you pretty much have to build them there, usually in joint ventures with Chinese companies. But for the branding itself, the number one selling Chinese branded car in China ranks 15th overall. The number one selling car, it's a Buick. Ford has 3 of the top 10. Volkswagen, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, they're all huge over there. Interesting, the Japanese don't do so well in China. There was that little unpleasantness about 60 years ago, and some of those brands have kind of negative connotations. But they will be there, and they're getting there sooner than ever. But the question is, will there ever be a Geely or a BYD dealership on your street corner in Canada? Well, if the Chinese don't want to buy Chinese branded cars, why do they think we would?
The Forte is one of the hottest new cars in the economy segment. Offered in both sedan and hatchback models, it has something for everyone. In base form, it has some standard equipment that is optional on many competitors. Move up to the range-topping SX and it comes with some features that are, believe it or not, optional on the Lexus ES350. Throw in the SX's peppy 173 horsepower engine, competent handling, and you have a car that can be all things to all consumers. Nissan is in the process of rationalising its worldwide naming strategy. In redesigning its entry-level ride, Nissan has adopted the Note nameplate that is used around the world. It also wanted to instill more style, smarten up the level of content and technology, as well as improve fuel economy. For the most part, Nissan has succeeded. It retains the functionality of its predecessor while delivering style and a comfortably roomy interior to go along with its newfound flexibility. Only the CVT spoils an otherwise sensible package. The Toyota Corolla has been a perennial favourite and the reworked 2014 model should not change that. The style is much sharper and finally counts some emotion in the look. The hitch is that in revamping the latest Corolla, Toyota did not push the envelope far enough. You see, the platform and most of the mechanicals are basically carried over from the outgoing model. In a market where direct injection is rapidly becoming standard, even on entry-level cars, sadly, well, the Corolla misses out.
Well, our viewers, it's no contest. It is the Toyota Corolla, which is a good car, but it may boil down to a CVT transmission, Mr. Fletcher.
You got that right. I cannot abide CVTs, and any car that's got it in, well, it's not on my popularity list. I picked the Kia Forte. Now, one of the reasons I picked it, and this is an important consideration, a lot of people are downsizing to reduce the cost of their operating budget. One thing that they don't want to do is to get out of an expensive car with all of the toys and then get into something that doesn't have them. They love their luxury. Well, guess what? If you buy the Forte SX, you get everything up to and including heated rear seats. That's more standard equipment than you get on the Lexus ES350.
And you know, with so many vehicles out there today, people are looking for best bang for the buck. Still to come, our truck guys are going to pick the best pickup truck of 2014. Stay with us as Motoring's 1 hour Car of the Year special continues.
Do it again. Keep going. To give you some idea of just how smooth the Infinity's engine is, there you have it. A Luniazzi balanced on a running engine. Now, there's not too many vehicles. Son of a stand up!
Well, the biggest thrill is the fact I'm still around and still able to do what I do. Well, when I was serving my apprenticeship back in a Ford dealer in England, we used to specialise in rally cars, so that was what really did convince me that cars and me were going to be one and the same thing. But you know, looking back when I was working on the bench, I never thought for an instant that I'd end up testing new cars on a national TV show. It's been quite an honour.
Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
One of the advantages of being a car tester is that you get to drive and evaluate a good number of different cars.
Motoring 2014 closed captioning is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads.
We're back, and it won't be long before the two Megans unveil our Car of the Year for 2014. But now we're back here with Graham, and Graham, we've had affordable sports cars, affordable CUVs, and now affordable luxury. Is that not a bit of an oxymoron?
Absolutely not. If you go back a few years, a luxury car was by definition very expensive. That's no longer true today. They've come down the price ladder, and so they more than qualify as affordable. And so do the nominees. Not only does the new 4 Series wheelbase grow by 50mm, the track is wider, which brings a better base for everything. This, along with the shortened overhangs, keeps all of the heavy stuff between the wheels, which brings an ideal 50-50 weight balance front to rear. The ride height has also been lowered by 10 millimeters, which drops the center of gravity. And finally, the body is 60% stiffer. Throw in a choice of engines, manual and automatic transmissions, along with all-wheel drive, and well, you have a delightful ride. The latest Lexus IS 350 has a much keener style that includes the company's signature spindle grille. However, the more substantial work is found beneath the sheet metal. The wheelbase grows by 70 millimeters, most of which is dedicated to the rear seat riders. It also has the right power and a choice of driving modes. The best is Sport Plus. It not only makes the throttle and transmission sharper, it alters the steering as well as upping the optional damper settings. This brings the best of both worlds, sharp handling and a comfortable ride. The Mercedes-Benz CLA brings a sharper look, even sharper handling and plenty of power. However, the model of choice is the CLA 45 AMG. It takes the base car and amps it up. The 2-litre turbocharged 4 boasts a hefty 355 horsepower, which is a cool 147 more than the mortal CLA, as well as a stout 332 pound-feet of torque at 2250 RPM, which makes it the most powerful production 4-banger around. The manner in which it piles on speed is sublime. The same applies to the manner in which the CLA AMG handles. It is as though it is riding on rails.
You know, Graham, I really like the direction that Lexus is going with the IS, but,
well, it didn't win. We picked the Mercedes-Benz CLA. Now, the one thing that really did push it over the top is the AMG version. It has the strongest 4-banger under its hood there is around today. It is one impressive drive. I've driven it a couple of times, and boy, oh boy, it'll rock your socks.
One thing I did notice, and it's a Mercedes, is there is some road noise. But as Jim Kenzie said on an earlier program, it all boils down to run-flat tires, and there's no getting around them.
Nope, there's not.
Now, our next segment is a segment, Graham, I thought might disappear with the popularity of SUVs, and that's the mid-size family car that can actually hold a family and a trunk for luggage.
Yes, indeed. The mid-size family car is indeed enjoying somewhat of a renaissance. And now to the nominees.
The Canadian-built Buick Regal earns a fresh new look inside and out, along with a host of safety and technology features, including a first: available all-wheel drive. Combine the benefits of all-wheel traction with the new 259 horsepower 2-litre turbocharged engine, and you have one seriously sporty ride. Then there's the interactive driver control system. It features normal, sport and GS modes. Each triggers progressively tighter suspension settings, increased steering effort and a sharper throttle response. As a package, it is simply excellent. With the exception of a brief break, the Impala nameplate has been around since 1956. That sort of longevity is rare. The latest car to wear the Impala nameplate is a prime example of what GM can do when it puts its corporate mind to the task. The Impala is blessed with great looks and a very comfortable cabin that accommodates 5 with ease. It also delivers plenty of power in a remarkably fuel-efficient manner. More importantly, it now has the wherewithal to appeal to a younger buyer. The Mazda 6 is a great-looking car that benefits enormously from Mazda's Skyactiv technology. This brings efficiency without killing the fun of the drive. Simply, the Mazda 6 carves a corner in a fine fashion, and it has ample power. The shame in all of this is that the much-anticipated diesel version has yet to surface. When it does, this car will very quickly find more fans than it already enjoys.
Now, believe it or not, Graham and I actually agree on the odd thing, and that includes the winner of the family segment.
Absolutely. We picked the Chevrolet Impala. It really is a bright light in that segment. I really did enjoy the way they've got the driving characteristics. It's comfortable, and it lives up to advanced billing. Room for 5 and a large trunk.
First of all cars sold in Canada have to have passed the same
Safety standards.
Thank you.
In the very first year of motoring, I was interviewed as a guest on the show, and then you came along and said, what we need is somebody to play an angry guy.
Get out of my way, you stupid jerk! Can't you see I'm in a hurry?
The curmudgeon of the show.
If you're into pop music, forget about Aerosmith. Put on a little James Taylor.
I'm not a nasty guy, I just play one on television. But what I think we do on Kenzie's Corner is we talk about the sort of things that frustrate regular drivers, whether it's the way cars are designed, the way other drivers drive them, the way governments build roads, the way police enforce the various laws. Well, part of the fun, too, is that not everybody agrees with me. Sometimes they'll say, you know, I don't agree with what you say, but I watch you every week. Well, that's really the key, because we want people to watch the show. We want people to get engaged with the show. And we think that's one thing that Kenzie's Corner tends to do.
I hope you're enjoying Motoring's Car of the Year special. There's lots more to come, so don't go away.
Under that cover, the best in class for 2014, and I'm thinking it's not a pickup truck, despite the fact that they sell more pickups in North America than cars. But you know, when it comes to pickups, we here on Motoring defer to our truck boys, Bill Gardner and Howard Elmer. And this week, Bill invited Howard to Walmart, where he shoots his tip of the week. And the job this week, to select the best pickup of 2014. Let's join the conversation.
Howard, thanks for coming out to Walmart today.
Appreciate it, Bill.
TLE base, where we do our tip of the week every week. But this week it's Truck of the Year segment. Next year a new F-150, but F-150 perennial sales champ for decades now.
Nothing really new from Ford. We're looking for a 2015, so everything we got this year is carryover.
Yep.
So the real race is between the Tundra, the GM Twins, and the Ram. I looked at the Toyota first and I said, I love what they've done with the interiors. Was very disappointed I didn't get any new powertrains. So that kind of puts them out of the running for me.
I drove it, I love it, it's a great truck, and you know, people talking about Toyota trying to take on the big three, but I don't know, do they really need to take on the big three?
Makes you wonder, because if you look at their advertising campaign right now, they're really shooting for that other truck guy market, the guy who sort of one day realizes, gee, I could use a truck. So they're looking for that sort of more upscale buyer, and I think to your point, as you mentioned, a lifelong Toyota guy. But then again, they only sell 100,000 in all of North America, so I mean, theoretically, they are just a bit player. So really, it's down to Ram and the GM Twins, Sierra and Silverado. The big thing with GM is that this is the newest truck in 7 years, and in that last 7 years, they've gone broke, they've been restructured, they literally ran out of trucks, and their R&D budget got sliced. So the fact that they've built something as good as it is, I'm amazed, and I'm really, really happy with what they've done, powertrains in particular.
Yeah, the direct injection engines, I absolutely love them. I mean, that engine, those engines were all bulletproof, so the bottom ends are the same. They're different from the block deck up. The heads and fuel systems are different. But the extra power, the fuel economy that gives you is undeniable.
Key thing for me is the interiors. I was ashamed to have somebody get into a GM truck last year. They're so much better now. I mean, just aesthetically, the look, the feel of the materials.
For many years, GM didn't have a 6.5-foot box on their 1500 series truck if you got a 4-door cab. They've addressed that situation. Get a 4-door cab, half-ton truck, 1500 series truck with a 6.5-foot box. And that's, for a lot of guys, that's the bare minimum. They don't want to talk about a 5.5-foot box.
Well, Ram did exactly the same thing. They will finally give you a 6.5-foot box with their crew modification. And let's face it, they kicked a lot of sales to Ford because they didn't have those things. I'm excited about the fact that Ram had the balls, basically, to bring the diesel to market. However, it would have been awesome if that would have been a Cummins as well. So we'll have to wait and see how it looks long term.
I love the styling of the Ram truck. I mean, it's clearly, in my book, the best looking full-size truck. I felt with the coil spring suspension, I didn't have enough road feel. I like the trucks with the leaf spring on the rear axle.
Well, certainly GM has stayed much more traditional that way. And they've done a lot of work up under the hood. So one of the nice things, too, is that they're now offering you something which is unique, which is a cylinder deactivation in a 6.
Yep.
So you're actually running around with a 4. Well, Well, what I got to say for 2014 is that there's a lot of unknowns in terms of how this diesel is going to perform long term. And I got to go with the Ram just because of the technological jump that these guys have made. You know, they've really been taking some chances, and I'm willing to let them do that.
I've always loved Ram with diesel powertrains when it was Cummins. Maybe I'm going to like this one, but for right now, my call is the GM. I love the powertrain, the direct injected gas engines, and I just love the way that truck drove, and that's my truck of the year. But looks like we're splitting the vote, so maybe next year we need to bring a third person into the mix. What do you think?
Well, we could, as long as it's not Brad, because he doesn't know anything about trucks.
The fact is that if cars are all so very good, you know, whether it's a Corolla, a Mazda 3, a Honda Civic, and they're all so difficult to choose between, then it doesn't matter which one you choose, they're all going to be good enough. And the truth is that while 10 or 20 years ago, and they weren't the good old days as much as people like to believe they were, the difference between a good and a bad car was significant. Now, it's much more difficult. If you choose to buy a Toyota over a Honda or vice versa, there's just not going to be that much difference. There are no cars that really break down much more than others. There's no lemons out there. There really aren't. I mean, occasionally someone will make an individual car that's a lemon, but there are very, very few models that are lemons. So I would tell people not to fret too much about it. I mean, it's the difference between the best car in a class and the worst car in a class is much narrower than it's ever been before. So just pick the pretty one.
If I was selecting the car of the year using my heart alone, the Jaguar XJR would win by a country mile. However, somewhere along the line, the head has to factor into the equation somewhere. For that reason, our 1995 car of the year goes to GM. And no, it's not to the Cavalier that Kenzie fancies. It is indeed to the Oldsmobile Aurora. It's a quintessential GM, and if that's the direction they're taking for the future looks decidedly rosy.
As you know, we've added a few new faces to the motoring team over the last couple of years, and that includes Russ Bond, our crazy man behind the wheel on 2 Minute Test Drive.
Later, I'll scare Brad. I'm on for 2 minutes and my job's to entertain you and to show you what the capabilities of the car are. You know, from being a former race car driver, that's what I do. You guys didn't hire me because I can do stand-ups. In 3, 2, 1. That car right here, a couple weeks ago, made me look... This is a 2014 BMW Z4 3.5i. What? You look like a...
I'm Kev, he's Russ, and this has been the 32 minutes. 32 minutes. Yeah, probably has.
It feels like it. And that's driving positional comfort. Everything works. This is a kid. His name is Jack. Jack. Oh, you're killing me. And this is the 2 Minute Test Drive. Yeah. I'm not doing that again, Brad. I'm not. No. My favorite 2 minute test drive. I think it's when I have guests. It's a 2013 International Lone Star, and this is...
Hey, Russ, I'm the truck guy. Stick to your fancy sports cars. This is the 2 Minute Test Drive.
Let's take a beehive down a frog and have a pig's ear at the local rubber dump.
And then down the back straightaway here, you feel this car going to the 44 cents speedway. It's hugging the corners like a loved one at the airport.
Makes you feel like a kid all over again. I'm Russ Bond, and this has been the 2 Minute Test Drive. Are you sure you don't want me to drive?
You're not going to rap again, are you?
I spent most of my life as a race car driver, and this is sort of a natural progression. I get to do stuff on TV with cars you don't normally see doing, and it's just for one thing, fun.
Next up, we take a look at our luxury cars. Now, each one of them's going to cost you a few bob, but you know what? When all's said and done, they're very well worth it. The new Acura RLX has more road presence than the outgoing car, and it addresses many of the complaints. To begin with, it's roomier, and it will be offered with an all-wheel drive derivative down the road. The latter is a hybrid that drives the front wheels with a V6 gasoline engine, while the rear wheels are powered by an electric motor. It promises to be one sweet ride. 370 horsepower says it all. It's also intriguing because the much anticipated NSX will use a pumped-up version of this very powertrain. 2014 ushers in a new era for Cadillac as the company introduces an entirely new breed of performance car. Sitting at the top of the CTS lineup is the new V-Sport. With a 420 horsepower twin-turbo V6 beneath the hood, ZF steering, standard magnetic ride control suspension, Brembo brakes and an electronic limited slip differential, the newest CTS, which is now in its third generation, promises to be the leading light for GM's luxury brand. Aside from its solid road presence and equally strong performance, the highlight of the Infiniti Q50 is its advanced steering system. The system offers 3 different modes, each of which changes the weight of the steering. It also has some serious electronic trickery going on in the background. This takes the kickback out of a rough road without killing the feel and feedback. Factor in the availability of all-wheel drive and a hybrid derivative, and you have a very strong contender.
You know, some segments are tough to pick, others are easy. This was easy.
It sure was. We picked the Cadillac CTS. Now this thing really is an altogether new car, and it comes, if you go with the V-Sport, with one sweet engine. 420 horsepower out of a twin-turbo engine. It doesn't get much better. And now to our crossovers that'll cost you more than $35,000. 3 very strong contenders. Now they do compete in one of the toughest segments in the country, and it's one of the strongest, and it looks like it's going to keep growing into the future. The Jeep Grand Cherokee is the most awarded SUV ever. For 2014, it only gets better. It's not only offered with 4 engines, including a very sweet diesel and the monster 6.4-litre Hemi in the SRT, it comes with one of the most advanced all-wheel drive systems available. The driver can pick their own setting or leave it in automatic and let the Grand look after itself. Throw in a very spiffy interior and decidedly decent driving dynamics and you have a true on- and off-road warrior. The latest Acura MDX takes all of the good things from the outgoing model and makes them better. This covers the smart new style to the lavishly attired interior. More importantly, the MDX gets a sweet direct-injected V6 that delivers 290 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque, while consuming 7.7 litres per 100 kilometres on the highway thanks to its cylinder deactivation system. Throw in Acura's super handling all-wheel drive system and you have a very accomplished ride. Way back when the Earth was cooling, 1970 to be exact, Land Rover introduced an upscale derivative of the mud-bogging 4x4 it had been building since 1948, and so the Range Rover was born. Since then, the Range Rover has evolved to become what it is today, a full-on luxury conveyance and a true off-road conqueror. The inclusion of a seriously torquey supercharged V8 engine and an advanced all-wheel drive system brings one truly sophisticated ride, regardless of the terrain. The only question left is very simple. Who takes a $100,000 rig off-road? The winner of our best crossover or SUV over $35,000 is the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now this thing has been the epitome of all things that are good with Jeep. It's a stellar off-roader, and if you go with the SRT8 version, it was a full-on race car, all wrapped up in a very capable off-roader. The old vehicle, there was nothing wrong with it. The new one takes that basis and just builds on it for the better. And now to our next category, prestige cars. Cadillac builds its XTS as life lived large. For once, this is more than hyperbole. The XTS is a large car, but thanks to its magnetic ride suspension, available all-wheel drive, and an optional twin-turbo V6 engine, it feels light and alive on its tyres. Inside, it takes GM's premium brand to all new heights. Plush materials and toys aplenty, including a 12.3-inch reconfigurable dash, right the way through to all the usual safety features. The XTS, it even has the ability to park itself. After wandering off into the stylistic wilderness, Jaguar is back with an eye-catching look, a newfound poise, and if you pony up the dosh, as much vigour as anyone could possibly want. The XJ's lines are sleek, the roof line is seductively low, and it all wraps around a cabin that is, in a word, exquisite. The vigour comes in the form of an up-level supercharged V8. In base form, it puts forth 470 horsepower. However, for those moments when more than enough is still not quite enough, well, there's the tweaked version. It makes 510 horsepower. Mercedes-Benz flagship is all new. The latest S-Class ditches its dowdy look and comes with more than its fair share of character. It is also packed to the gunnels with leading-edge technology. The jewel in the crown, however, is found in the S63 AMG. The 5.5-litre twin-turbo V8 makes a dizzying 577 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque at 2,250 RPM. Now, this is enough to whisk the portly 2,070-kilogram long-wheelbase sedan from rest to 100k in 4 seconds flat. The only question left, how does the owner pry the chauffeur out of the driver's seat?
Cadillac, Jaguar, and Mercedes. It doesn't get much better than that. But when it comes to prestige, it's the S-Class.
Most certainly it is. It's the most technologically advanced car on the road today. It'll do everything except drive itself. Although, come to think of it, it's actually capable of doing that for short periods. The only thing that concerns me, I'm a mechanic. If it breaks down, please don't call me.
Initially, I was just over the top happy to be associated with TSN because I was, 4 years into TSN and I just thought that was the greatest network and totally into sports. And then to be able to be on TSN on a car show, I mean, it couldn't get any better, right?
Thank God for Russ. This junk will be off the road in a few years and maybe the guy will buy a sensible car. Who knows?
When we come back, our girls will unveil our overall Car of the Year for 2014. Don't go away. We're back, and we've reached that point in the program where our two Megans are about to unveil the best vehicle for 2014. Now, before we do, let's review our category winners, of which one will be crowned Car of the Year. Now, before Graham makes the official announcement, Jimmy, he's got to be in there first. So here's Jim with his choice.
Well, to me, a Car of the Year has to be something really special. It's got to really move the goalposts, really establish itself as something truly spectacular, way better than anything else that's ever been seen, particularly from that company. Now, I have a kind of a feeling what Graham is going to do here. Now, he's been wrong about 20 out of the 26 years we've been doing this, and I'm afraid he's going to be wrong again, because to me, the obvious Car of the Year is one which isn't just a refresh of an already pretty good car, it's something that's totally different. The car I've got in mind, the obvious Car of the Year, well, it wasn't obvious to the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada, it wasn't obvious to the North American Car of the Year Committee, it wasn't even obvious to Motor Trend, but it's obvious to anybody with half a brain. A car that goes from being a taxi to being the best mid-size sedan Consumers Reports has ever tested in one generation. This is remarkable. It's unbelievable. And it's built in Canada. How can the car of the year be anything but the Chevrolet Impala?
Not the Impala this year, Jim, but it is a very good car. And if it's a harbinger of the things that we can expect from the new GM, well, they're certainly on the right track. Motoring's car of the year for 2014 is the Mazda 3.
With each new generation, the Mazda 3 has set a new standard for the compact segment. The latest car does that yet again. The combination of styling, practicality and a full suite of Mazda's Skyactiv technologies make it a dynamic, fun-to-drive car that is equally fuel efficient. The combination made it a runaway winner of Motoring's Car of the Year.
Congratulations to Mazda. They knew they had to raise the bar to improve on what already was a good vehicle. We also want to congratulate all our nominees and winners. You know, there's no doubt with so much choice for consumers today, purchasing a vehicle is not an easy task. But do your homework, watch Motoring, of course. You quickly realize there's a vehicle for everyone. And as we've seen, cars and trucks today have never been built better. It's a win-win situation for everyone. You know, we're heading into our 27th season, and we want to thank our sponsors for their support, but also thank you, our viewers, for watching us for so many years grow old, gracefully, I hope. And you know, we want to hear from you, what you like about the show, what you don't like, or maybe what you want to see. So check us out at motoringtv.com and join us on Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.